Welcome to the Godward's Dungeon, an ancient battlefield and prison to the Zarosian General Nex. But fear not, as my name is Sunnyboy, and I'll tell you all you need to know in order to start farming this iconic boss for all that nice tier 80 gear. In order to even be able to start the next encounter, you will need to collect a frozen key, which means you'll have to kill followers of each of the 4 factions in the rest of the Godward's Dungeon in order to get the key parts. As a result, there is a requirement of 70 range, 70 strength, 70 agility and 70 constitution. On top of that, you also need access to the Godward's Dungeon itself, which requires completion of the Troll Stronghold quest and talking to Surgery before entering the dungeon. From this point onward, I'll assume you have acquired a frozen key by getting each key part from each faction and combining it. Now you can enter the ancient prison, where in order to actually get access to Nex, you either need 40 Zarosian follower kills or be wearing the ancient ceremonial robe outfit. Once you have met one of those 2 requirements, you can enter the waiting room right before the actual Nex boss room. Some notable features here are a spirit that you can bank at. On top of that, you can also exchange an ancient ceremonial robe set along with 10 million GP for permanent access, removing the 40 kill count requirement. With all of that behind us, we're finally ready to actually start the boss fight. For your loadout, I recommend the following if you're learning: Overload Potion or Soup restores to last you throughout the fight, good healing food, either solids like sailfish or non-solids like Ceredominum Brood, notepaper if desired to pick up certain loot that exceeds your inventory capacity, your best power armor, though I recommend at least tier 60 equipment, and a power burst of vitality. As mentioned before, you will need at least tier 70 stats to get here anyway, but I also discourage bringing magic, since our 4 main minions cannot be killed by magic. Meanwhile, they all have a weakness to ranged, so that's probably going to be your preferred combat style. Throughout the fight, Nex also can use reflective prayers for the main 3 combat styles, so bringing necromancy will give you the easiest kills, as she can't pray against necromancy, and your conjures will also aid you. If you have completed Ritual of the Majorad, you can also use the Glacor Cave to get a buff for a 5% damage boost against Nex. For your ability bindings, you will want easy access to your mobility skills and freedom. Also be careful of having abilities that apply bleed in your rotation, as these will heal Nex in one of her phases. So what do you actually need to know? For starters, there's 5 phases, and in each phase she is supported by a different mage of hers. In the first phase, she spawns at the center of the arena and will be supported by Fumus. As a result, she will either affect you with a combat stat training poison or try to swoop at you. If you see the message, "Let the virus flow through you," you will be affected by a virus that spreads between all players around her targeted player. In a solo encounter, this isn't too annoying to deal with, since the virus has nobody else to bounce off on, but it will still rapidly drain your combat stats each time you cough. As a result, an Overload Potion completely cancels out this mechanic, as it automatically resets your combat abilities whenever they would have been drained. Alternatively, she can also say "there is" shortly after, followed by "no escape," causing her to swoop down one of the 4 hallways, inflicting heavy damage to anyone she hits. Try to make sure you avoid standing in the hallways whilst attacking her. Finally, in this phase, she also has a pull that stuns you and disables your protection prayers, but you can counter this by using Anticipation or Freedom. All throughout this phase, you will want to be praying against magic, as that is her main attack style. At 160,000 life points, she becomes invulnerable while still attacking the player with all abilities from that phase. But now Fumus in the northwestern corner can be attacked and killed. Doing so will allow you to progress to the next phase. In the second phase, she is instead supported by Umbra, and she will be using ranged attacks. You can switch Protection Prayer, but you don't have to if you want to limit inputs. Since another mage supports her, she also has different special attacks. The first one being identifiable by her yelling "Fear the Shadow," which will spawn a dark circle under your current location, followed by a shadow reaching up, dealing massive damage. To avoid all damage, make sure you move off the shadow by the time it triggers. Alternatively, she can shout "Embrace Darkness," which darkens the area around her, and if you stand near her in the darkness, you'll start taking frequent typeless damage. So avoid standing near her during this phase. Deal with those 2 mechanics whilst damaging her down to 120,000 life points, and just like before, she will become invulnerable, but in exchange you can now attack the mage. On to the third phase, the Blood phase, where she is aided by Crew War. Her attacks once again deal magic damage, and on top of that, heal her. Also avoid applying non-necromancy bleeds to her during this phase, as that will cause her to heal instead. For abilities, she either yells, "A siphon will solve this!", summoning 2 Blood Reavers and briefly becoming invincible, and heal from all damage dealt instead. After a short wait, you can once again deal damage to her. Alternatively, she will shout, "I demand a blood sacrifice", making one player turn red. That player should move away from her. Using a mobility skill is advised, as that's the easiest and fastest way to create gap. Successfully doing so will prevent any further results. Failing to do so will heal her and trade prayer points. At 80,000 life points, Cruer can be attacked and killed, allowing you to move on to the most dangerous phase 2 solo. For advanced PvMers, there are specific timings at which you will want to move on to the next phase, but I won't be covering those in this guide. Her final mage, Glacis, allows Nex to yell, "Die now in a prison of ice", trapping one player in an ice prison. If you are in a duo, one player can attack the prison to allow the other to break out. In a solo run, eat up and do your best to survive. Or use freedom and drink a power burst of vitality. Alternatively, she can also yell, "Contain this", which will cause any player near her to be stunned and take a solid chunk of typeless damage. Bring her down to 40,000 life points as fast as you can, and then kill Glacis, who is in the final corner. With no more mages left, she calls upon the power of Zaros himself and heals herself, whilst also only dealing magic and melee damage during this phase. Each successful attack will heal her, whilst also trying to drain your stats. So do your best to keep your selected style boosted when possible. Overall, avoid standing too close to her and try to bring her down to 0 life points as fast as you can. Once she has been reduced to 0 life points, make sure to move far away from her, as she will explode, dealing a good chunk of damage in a decent area around her. And it would be a shame to die now and miss out on your loot. But clearly you are skilled and dodge that perfectly. So here you go. Enjoy your loot and enjoy your kills. If this guide was helpful, please consider subscribing. Leave a comment down below on what boss you want to guide next. Any additional questions obviously also are welcome down there. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye!